I grew up in John's dad's church since I was maybe 10 or 12 in Maine. But John and I didn't hang out at all, didn't know each other at all. He was homeschooled, and I was into sports, and he was into artsy-fartsy things and outdoorsy things. We'll put that on hold for a second, but I grew up in John's dad's church, how we know each other. I grew up wonderful Christian family, but got into using drugs and selling drugs. And as part of my recovery, I went to the Dominican Republic on a random missions trip. I called up a missionary and said, "My life's a wreck, can I come hang out with you?" And so while I was there, make a long story short, I started to read the Bible and pray for the first time. I went to youth camps and churches and retreats and all these things, but never actually hung out with Jesus myself. And so go figure, I started to hang out with Jesus, and my whole life started to change before my eyes. And I got sober down there, and while I was there, I met our original guitar player who, after 16 years, he left 2 years ago to spend more time with his family and kind of chase something else. And so he was from the Dominican, and my joke is that I brought him back to Maine with me after 2 months as a real-life souvenir, so that was pretty cool. And so we started traveling around, didn't really have music industry in mind. He could play guitar, I could sing, and we wanted to share about what God had done in our lives, and music was a great way to get people to listen to us talk. And so start having conversations with people. So we would play in New York City subways and have conversations, and nursing homes, and talk to people, and show up at colleges and set up in the cafeteria without asking until we got kicked out. And over the years, I remember being in a college cafeteria, and a girl doing homework said, "Oh, my dad has a church." So we went to his church and we played, and then just kind of doors opened, and it was 10 years before we actually got on the radio or anything, and we were just kind of going around anywhere we could, and again, using music as a tool to share the gospel. And so I can't tell the story that long, but when it was just Mike and I, the guy from the Dominican, we played at some kind of competition thing where Ariel's band won the competition. We didn't know him at all. We just were one of the bands there. And we remember sitting in the back. It was in Nashville, and it was like the first year we were doing it. And remember sitting in the back and saying, "Oh man, if we ever had a band, if we could only have a drummer like that guy, he's awesome." And then several years later, he became available, and we called him, since we got his contact information there, and said, "Come play for us, please." And so that's how he came. And then we've had other members over the years coming in and then leaving, but the core, us three plus the other guy, had been together for almost 14 years. So, if you can stay in a band, traveling band in a 15-passenger van, making no money, and you can stay the same guys, man, God's somewhere in the middle of it, because that's nearly impossible. And so that's kind of how we met and ended up here 10 years ago, and eventually found a record label that wanted to work with us, and the Lord opened different doors, and we're grateful for it. It's so neat to be a part of course, when we would go out and play, we would, hear testimonies and things were, from the music and the words, but now, we go out, we'd have to fight so hard to gain people's attention and respect so that we could say something that might mean something to them, but being part of what Christian radio does, it's wonderful because we can go right in. People know our songs. Their guard's already down, and we can share what's on our hearts. And I was blown away, honestly, by the impact that I honestly didn't grow up on Christian music. My mom always bought me Michael W. Smith CDs, and I'd always trade them for Boyz II Men or whatever. And so, not to say he isn't fantastic, it just that wasn't the kind of music that I liked. And so I really didn't know about Christian music and the industry and, any of that. But once we started getting played, I started to realize, wow, like this has an amazing reach and literally saving people's lives, and just fun to be a part of it. So we appreciate when our songs make it on your guys' station, and any station for that matter. Because it really is a special ministry, and music is a universal language. It's something that every human being speaks, regardless of what culture you're from or religious belief. And so just a lot of fun for us to be a part of it and partner with wonderful people like y'all. And so thank you.